The concept of time and our understanding of it has been manipulated by those in power for centuries. Unbeknownst to most is the fact that the month of September was not originally the 9th month. September comes from the Latin root septem, meaning 7, because in the original Roman calendar, September was the 7th month of the year, rather than the 9th. The names of the months that follow September are also based on their original Roman order in which they were numbered. October from octo, meaning 8, November from novem, meaning 9, and December from decim, meaning 10. Therefore, most people's understanding of dates and times are based on deception and falsehood. The world has been placed under a spell or enchantment of displaced time. Here's an example of this witchcraft being put on display in real time.
Who killed the witch of the east? Was it you? Well, my little pretty, I can cause accidents too. Aren't you forgetting the ruby slippers? Slippers? Yes. They're gone.
On September 4th, or in displaced time, 9/4, the ruby slippers from the movie The Wizard of Oz were found by the FBI 13 years after they were stolen.
Finally tonight, it wasn't the wizard, but an FBI sting that turned up perhaps the most famous slippers in movie history 13 years after they were stolen.
The slippers, it seemed, had slipped away for good. Until today.
Now, under the rainbow.
There they were. But were they real? After comparing them to the ones in the Smithsonian, the FBI said, yes indeed, they matched.
Not only were these slippers stolen, but the memories of a lot of Americans were stolen back in 2005.
Wait, what?
Not only were these slippers stolen, but the memories of a lot of Americans were stolen back in 2005.
It's obvious that this news story is nothing more than a magic ritual being performed before the public, since the date 9/4 or 9 plus 4 equals 13, the same number of the amount of years the slippers went missing. It should also be noted that Dorothy experienced a state of being displaced in time and space when she was taken to the land of Oz in a whirlwind, similar to the rabbit hole of Alice in Wonderland, which we discussed in our previous video. The entire world is trapped in a state of displaced time and space of Wonderland, or the land of Oz, because throughout human history, man has changed the way in which times were measured. Practitioners of magic or witchcraft always use deception in their sorcery and charms in order to control and influence the minds of the people who are placed under their spell. Throughout human history, man has changed the way in which times were measured several times. However, we know that the Most High is the one who ordained times and seasons and the dividing of times from the beginning. Genesis chapter 1 verse 14 declares, "And God said, Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years." The term calendar itself is taken from the term calends, which describes the first day of the month in the Roman calendar. This word is related to the verb callare, which means to call out, and it refers to the calling or the announcement that the new moon was just seen. It should be noted that according to the Hebrew calendar, the coming of the new moon signals Rosh Chodesh. Rosh Hashanah is the Rosh Chodesh, new moon or month of Tishri. The celebration of Rosh Hashanah begins on Tishri 1 and 2, which coincide this year with the Roman dates of September 9th through 11th, connecting back to the September 11th attacks on the World Trade Center. For posterity's sake, let's review these events and some of the symbolism connected to them so that we may get a glimpse of what these events tell us about the future. During the attacks of September 11th, American Airlines Flight 11 and United Airlines Flight 175 were crashed into the north and south towers of the World Trade Center, and according to the official narrative, as a result, the 110-story buildings eventually collapsed. Building 7, which although it was not struck by an airplane, also collapsed, and flight number 77 supposedly crashed into the Pentagon. Now for the symbolism. American Airlines Flight 11 gives us the number 11 twice, since the letter A is the first letter of the alphabet. The number 11 represents Antichrist. United Airlines Flight 175 gives us the number 13, since 1 plus 7 plus 5 equals 13. This signifies rebellion. The U in United Airlines gives us the number 21, since the letter U is the 21st letter. Therefore, we get the numbers 21 and 777. Building 7 and Flight 77 gives us the numbers 7 and 77. 7 represents the sevenfold curse of revenge for Cain, and 77 represents the 70 and sevenfold curses of Cain's descendant, Lamech. This is the ensign or mark of Cain found in Genesis chapter 4, verse 24. Also, the number 77 represents the 77 infernal names of Satan. This is supported by the fact that Cain and his bloodline spiritually represent the serpent seed. Flight 77 supposedly hit the Pentagon, setting it on fire, which was a representation of setting a pentagram on fire. The inverted pentagram represents the descent of spirit into matter. Therefore, the pentagram on fire signifies the infernal spirit of Satan indwelling a human body. Flight 93, which was headed for Washington, D.C., crashed before it could reach its destination, killing all 44 people on board. Flight 93 is a numeric anagram. By inverting the number 9 into a 6, turning 93 into 63, and then reversing 63, turning it into 36, we get the number 666, since the sum of the integers from 1 to 36 equal 666, the number of the beast. Interestingly enough, Flight 93 was headed to Washington, D.C., towards the White House, the seat of the president, with 44 people on board, connecting the number 666 in the events of September 11th with this nation's 44th president, Barack Obama, who, incidentally, had a presidential limousine named the Beast. Embedded in the September 11th attacks, we find the following symbolism: the Antichrist, rebellion, the serpent seed and mark of Cain, the pentagram on fire representing the infernal spirit of Satan indwelling a human body, the number 666, which is the number of the beast, the number 44, which connects to Barack Obama, whose code name was Renegade, which means the lawless one, whose vehicle just so happened to be called the Beast. Moreover, on May 1st, 2011, May Day or Beltane, which is a pagan or witches' holiday for incantations, Obama announced that he had ordered a strike which killed Osama bin Laden, the the alleged mastermind behind the September 11th attacks.
Tonight, I can report to the American people and to the world that the United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden, the leader of Al-Qaeda, and a terrorist who's responsible for the murder of thousands of innocent men, women, and children. It was nearly 10 years ago that a bright September day was darkened by the worst attack on the American people in our history. The images of 9/11 are seared into our national memory.
It should be noted that April 30th, the eve of May Day, is Walpurgis Night.
What is it, Denise? You realize what today's date is, right? April the 29th. What? McCarthy isn't going to miss the chance of giving Simon his devil's baptism at the grand Sabbath of the year. What are you talking about? Tomorrow night, the eve of May Day.
Walpurgis Night is a celebration of Saint Walpurga, who died in the year 777, connecting back to the curses of vengeance for Cain and Lamech. The observance of this night is pagan in origin, as its roots stem from the tradition of a meeting of sorcerers and witches on the eve of May Day, called Witches' Night. Remember how witches gathered in Washington, D.C. to sweep the Capitol clean with their witches' brooms when Obama first entered the White House? As if that's not enough, on September 11th, Barack Obama recited Psalm 46, claiming to be God and predicting that he will be worshipped as such.
Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth.
It should be noted that Psalm 46 is the 666th chapter from the end of the Bible. But the revelations don't stop there. On September 7th, Obama made his return to the political arena by rebuking Trump.
But I have to say this, because sometimes we hear, oh, a plague on both your houses.
Remember, Septem actually means 7. Therefore, September 7 represents 7/7, like the 7/7 or 70 and sevenfold curses of the serpent seed, Lamech's vengeance, which is found in Genesis 4:24. I found it quite astonishing that Obama's rebuke of Trump, which signals his return to the political arena and world stage, occurred on September 7th at 11:34 a.m. It's 3 + 4 = 7, when reversed becomes 7/11 or Septem 11. Also, the fact that this announcement was made on September 7th gives us the number 77 or Septem 7 as well. Further, this resurgence of Obama back onto the world stage occurred 7 years after his announcement concerning Osama bin Laden's death, which gives us the number 777, connecting back to the sevenfold curses of Cain and the 70 and sevenfold curses of Lamech once again. During this speech, Obama used the phrase, "a plague upon both your houses," which is a quote from Shakespeare's play, Romeo and Juliet.
But I have to say this, because sometimes we hear, oh, a plague on both your houses. Oh, a plague on both your houses.
Why is this important? Because it connects back to Obama's reading of Psalm 46 on September 11th, declaring himself as God.
Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth.
As fate would have it, during the time that the King James Version of the Bible was being transcribed, Shakespeare was in the employ of King James. Shakespeare was supposedly 46 years old at the time that the translation was completed, and it is rumored that Psalm 46 was translated by Shakespeare himself, who wrote his name in cipher embedded in the text. The 46th word from the beginning of Psalm 46 is shake, and the 46th word from the end, omitting the liturgical mark Selah, is spear. This is why Obama's mention of Shakespeare's "A curse be upon both your houses" at his resurgence on the world stage is so significant.
But I have to say this, because sometimes we hear, "Oh, a plague on both your houses." Oh, a plague on both your houses.
Obama is speaking in code, identifying himself with both the sevenfold curses of Cain's house and the 70 and sevenfold curses of Lamech's house as well. September 11th and Rosh Hashanah, the head of the new year, is upon us. Therefore, the significance of what the world has just witnessed, the dawn of the morning star, the rising of the sun, the light bearer whose human body will be inhabited by Satan himself, cannot be overemphasized. The rise of the Antichrist is at hand, and this is the voice of one crying in the wilderness. Amen.